When I get asked, Paul, what do you do? My answer is very simple. I solve sales problems, period. Now you're understanding, I hope you are, the value of storytelling. Regardless of people say they don't want to hear a sales pitch, everyone wants to be sold.
Yeah.
Every for sale by owner needs an agent. But they're focusing on the wrong premise. So when you focus on the wrong premise, you're going to have the wrong outcomes, right? That's the opportunity cost value, okay? So now, any marketing, if you look at the big corporations, the big conglomerates, and they advertise on Super Bowl Sunday, what is it that they're trying to accomplish? New customers, right? The new generations, right? They spend millions of dollars for a 1 second commercial, maybe $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
Where 200 million people watching, hopefully they get, a million more people buying Pepsi or Doritos or whatever, right? But there's only 3 ways to tell any story. Matter of fact, that's big on social media. You got to get the hook, you got to create a problem, and then you got to show a solution to that. That's the hook, right? So the number one thing is I named it the OBC, and I mentioned this to you before. The opening, the body, and the close. Isn't that what we've been doing? There's the objections and the rebuttal, right? So what is the opening supposed to accomplish for you? Whether it's a phone call, whether it's an email, whether it's a text, whether it's a referral, what is the opening supposed to accomplish? There's 3 things.
I don't remember, but I would imagine people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So, I mean, they got to know you first. So you got to like open the door for them to know you.
Okay. I sent it to you before too.
Mm-hmm.
You looking at it?
While.
Yeah. No, I sent it to you like a month ago. With the other time. Okay. Here's what it is. The reason why, and I'm not trying to brag, the reason why I'm able to get through people, even Joe when he hung up on me and I was pushing him, is because there's 3 things that you have to accomplish on any initial contact, whether it's physical.
Mm-hmm.
Your boyfriend had to do that. You had to do that with him, right? There's 3 to 5 seconds that things you must accomplish. Number 1 is you got to show value, trust, and earn respect, right? I have to do it on the phone. There's 3 to 5 seconds, right? But the opening, you must show a perceived value. That's what you must show from the get-go. And you don't always have time to share what you really know, right? So how do you show perceived value? By what you say and how you say it. Well, I don't need a wanted agent. I understand how you feel. Boom, right? That's setting the tone. That's a perceived value, whether you see that or not. So the number 1 thing that you're going to do is you set the tone for the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the opening does every single time. So if it goes bad, it's your fault. If it goes good, you take credit for it, right? When Joe hung up on me that day, if that was an objection, he hung up on me, right? So what is my rebuttal? I call him black and blame myself. What if we get a deal with that? What if you get a contract and you sell it and we get paid? We could always go back to how we set the tone. Man, Paul, that guy hung up on you. Look what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we set the tone. The second thing we do is, once you set the tone, now that tone has to show some perceived value. Well, I don't want an agent. I don't need an agent. Well, deep down they want an agent or they need an agent. You got to get them to want it. And your value is going to get them to see that you're the agent they've been waiting for. Okay? Then, number 3 is you start to earn trust you develop respect and you earn respect, however you want to see it. And then you start to give value of who you really are, right? Because again, they don't know you. They just know you as another agent, right? So when I get my license and somebody says, are you an agent? My response is going to be, listen, I understand how you feel about agents. I felt the same way. I just got my license because, you know what? I realized the value of an agent. And what I found out was that I'm freaking good. I train agents. I worked hard talking to hundreds of agents, hundreds of for sale. You see my pitch? Boom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to set the tone. I'm going to give them the value. That's not
Mm-hmm.
going to work with me. So the movie, that's the opening. So it's the hook. Your hook has to be very powerful. It has to diffuse that opening statement or that opening objection, whatever it may be. Okay. Now, that's the opening. Okay. Now, the body is the opening is the most important, right? Because if you don't do the most important things first, everything else is going to collapse, right? So now the body is what? What is the body? And I mentioned it many times. What is the body of the process, the selling process?
The body is where 90% of the sales happen.
Oh, you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
That stood out, didn't it? Okay. Now, why does 90% of the sales either happen or fail? And it could go either way. Either you lose it or you gain it, right? So why is the body the most valuable? And how do people lose sales when 90% of sales are done from the body?
Because if you got them to stay on the phone or to stay with you, like if you've gotten them engaged in the beginning, then they're basically giving you the opportunity to show them, so they're giving you the opportunity to sell them at that point.
Okay.
And it's kind of up to you whether you hit or miss.
Okay.
That's just the meat of the interaction, I guess. That's like the climax of it.
Okay. That's good. So now, remember, the opening is the perceived value. You got to show some perceived value, right? So like the trailer of a movie, right? They hook you to go watch the movie. You spend 2 hours, then you're disappointed, right? So now the body is, there's a stock terminology. It's like when you meet somebody, right? Let's say we're gonna use your boyfriend as an example because you went through a process before you started dating him, right? Same thing with anything. So what happens is there was an initial perceived value, there was an initial attraction, a little, whatever it may be, right? Then as you got to peel the onion, right? You gave him a shot, you guys started talking more, you started peeling each other's onion, and you start, man, I really like this onion, right? So the perceived now increase is called intrinsic value, right? Then you guys decide, you know what? We like each other's value. Let's at least start something with that, right? So intrinsic value is a stock terminology where the stock is trading low, but it's really high, it's worth more than what the stock says because of the company's financials, right? So now, when you overcome the initial stages and you set the tone, now they're giving you the stage. Okay, you got me. Now you better sell me. But people don't want to be sold, but they're telling you to sell them, right? How are you going to sell them? With value. So 4 things happen in the storytelling. Number 1 is the body. The body is the storytelling. Storytelling is just taking words, facts, figures, and statements, and making them sound like a song, like a music. That's all that is. Well, I need time to think about it. No, you don't. You already thought about it. You already made the decision to sell your house. What you're looking for, Denise, is X, Y, Z. That's why I emphasize those words. Commodity. We both have the most common, what we both have in common is the value is time, right? Commodity, right? So now, when you go from the opening, the second thing, as you're storytelling through the rebuttals, you're now increasing your value. And you don't have to talk about commission. You don't have to talk about all the bells and whistles. Right? How does a car salesman work? A good one. They build a bond with you. You know what they're gonna do, but you can't stop a good car salesperson. A good one, you know what they're gonna do, but you can't stop what they're gonna do. Why? Because they're really good at it. Nothing wrong with it, right? So that's what they're doing. So now number 2 is you're going to increase your value. Hopefully you're increasing your value. Now, number 3 is if you're telling a powerful story, meaning people are engaged. People are not going to give you their emotions or their time unless they're feeling it. And it's all feelings. Right? That's why 90% of the deals usually close within the body. You could also flip it. You could lose 90% of the deals too if you don't increase your value and you don't tell good stories, right? So if you're telling good stories and you're increasing your value, now you know you have a higher percent of converting that, right? From a prospect to a client or to a customer. A client is a relationship, a customer is one time, right? So number 4 is you get the prospect. Because remember, Denise is a prospect. You was once a prospect for me. Now we have a relationship, right? Even though I messed up, got your name on 5 different times, but I was good enough in my skills to overcome that, right? Because I took responsibility. Hey, I'm not kidding, man. I'm bad with knees. And when you saw me do it, when I cold called somebody, a guy named Carlos, and I forgot his name, he hung up on me the next day I called him. Remember that? Right? Because it's true. So now number 4 is you get the prospect to do what? After you tell a good story, you increase your value, you know 90% is going to close, but there's one chance that you may not close it. What are you getting the prospect to do at that point in doing the story, doing the body?
Say, what's the question one more time?
What are you getting the prospect to do doing the storytelling and the body of the selling process?
I'm getting them to envision themselves as the main character in the story.
Okay, that's good. What else? Dig deeper.
I'm getting them to envision their problem being solved.
Okay. Okay.
I'm getting them to buy into me.
That's it right there. That is it. They buy into the relationship. Because let me tell you something. If you didn't trust me or believe in me, but you knew I had this skill and what I could do, it don't mean jack shit to you. Right? You went a time where we didn't talk that much and we didn't do things. I kept talking to you, calling you, right? I kept working the relationship. I said, you know what? I want us to have a real chance to work together. Let's see what we could do, right? And I just respectfully, we went up and I kept playing a guilt check. Hey man, you just using me like, you don't want, right? But I was building and increasing my value, but building the relationship. So you get the prospect, because if they don't buy into Denise and they may even believe that you have a solution to sell the house, they're not going to sign with you. And the example could be with Joe, right? He had to see some value because he was resisting any showing or agent or any of that. Now he's on the cusp of potentially hiring you, right? It could happen because he bought into what we were doing. Does that make sense? So that's the body of it. Now, the close. What is the close? What is the close accomplishing? And there's a reason why I'm going to this, because it's going to go into the script.
I mean, obviously the close is the close. So
What does close mean? What does that mean? You use the word, right? So if you use the word, you better know what it means. What does close mean? See, you never thought about that, right?
Finalizing the transaction.
Okay.
But I also think it's the close. I don't know. I feel like the close is the beginning of the relationship.
That's it. That's it. That's it. There's 4 things in the close. For me, the close really happens when they're resisting you from the beginning, right? Because you got to diffuse all the objections, right? You're increasing your value. You're telling stories and you're getting them engaged, right? But the initial, for me, closing always happens from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right? So closing really is the development of a profitable relationship. That's what it really is. Okay? Now, the close, in essence, it's a win-win relationship, right? That's what it's that's the ultimate goal, right? They have to know they're winning and you have to know you're winning. But if they're offering you 1.5% commission and they don't want to pay, they want to slave you, well, you don't feel like you're winning. So how can you defend a terrible offer, right? You're just not gonna, you're gonna be bitter about it, right? So number 1 is you're gonna have real value. You're gonna show them through a proven strategy to sell the house, the marketing, the this, you know, you have a proven strategy, the time, all everything you said from there to when they give you contract, you show them real value. You went from perceived, intrinsic to real. Because the real value starts when the relationship happens. Now you gotta produce, right? Okay, so real value. Number 2 is the win-win relationship. Number 3, the prospect takes ownership of services and or product, and that's because in my case. So the prospect or the for sale by owner takes ownership of your strategy, of the needs, how you're gonna sell it, you know, the video, the marketing, all of that. They want to take ownership. When I used to sell stock, right, and I made my clients money, they would brag to their people, man, I made a lot of money in the stock market, never giving me any kudos. When they lost money, oh, my stockbroker sucks, or he lost me some money, right? That's just typical, right? Or my agent didn't do this, didn't do that. No, maybe it's you. Stop blaming somebody else. Take responsibility. So the prospect or the for sale by owner now starts to take ownership, not only of your services, but of the niche and the relationship. Because nobody wants to buy. People want to take ownership. Right? That's why I tell an investor or for sale by owner, do you want an investor or a buyer? There's 2 different animals. An investor is looking for equity and cash flow, and a buyer wants to have a home, right? It's just a big difference, right? And then number 4, in order for the prospect to take ownership, they have to visualize and see and believe the solutions that you're going to provide by what you're going to do. They have to know you could sell the house. And you see this is the table of content. This is the outline. Usually I start with this, but what we did was we implemented all of this during the training. Right? Isn't that what we're doing? If I explain this first, usually I explain this, and again, I had to adjust and change to the industry. So I said, let's show results first, and then let's go back and let's show them the vehicle. Well, this is the vehicle. Now you appreciate the vehicle more now, hopefully, than you did before. It's like all the experience you have, if you throw that up front, even though it's valuable, to them it's not valuable. That's the reason why we do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
No.
I'm going to send you the paperwork on that so you can have it for your file.
Okay.
All right? But anyway, I wanted to go over that because when I tell you, and I mentioned to you, and I keep harping on it, it's like when you when I used to be a martial artist, right? My teacher always told me I'm the worst nightmare for them. I go, why? He goes, because I will have to kill you. You could have one arm. If you're breathing, you're going to still think you could fight. I say, yeah, pretty much. You're going to have to kill me, right? That's my mentality, right? But he was teaching me, okay, keep doing the job. I don't want to do the job anymore. My arms are, well, you're going to keep doing it, right? Because you got to master that. So I had to change the way I thought. I had to change my street attitude. When I became a black belt, he said, you're a white belt now because you're dangerous. And if you don't change your attitude, you're going to wind up killing somebody, or somebody's going to kill you because you can't stop a gun. So he had to change the way I thought about being a black belt, which means it's about honor, respect, and humility, and all that stuff, right? A
Mm-hmm.
bad attitude with being a black belt is not a good combination, right? So I hop on these things because you gotta change the way you think in every facet of the selling process. Because not only will it increase your value as a salesperson, as an agent, as a broker, as a realtor, whatever you want to identify, but as a human being. Because you can't be one way at home and then one way in business. It just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work, right? So that's the key to that. So that's why I hop on it, like the ums and the late, all that has to change on you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so the language you speak, when you speak with people about real estate, and that's all. And I've been doing this for a long time.